Curtis McDowald, the junior men's Epee champ here at the November NAC. Curtis, pretty commanding victory for you there in the final. Walk us through kind of what you were feeling and how you were able to kind of win with such a kind of convincing win.
I just was feeling really well today. Was moving well. Had the luxury of seeing his bout prior to, so I knew exactly what he was coming with, and I knew that I was capable of it.
So it was kind of a combination of feeling good, feeling ready, just feeling kind of on point, and also scouting him a bit before your bout?
Yeah, you know, it's definitely good to be able to watch what your opponent's doing. Even if you know him already, he's probably doing something different every day, or every competition rather.
What are things that you look for when you're scouting opponents?
Particular actions they feel comfortable doing the most. If I can take those away, or at least let them think they're getting those actions, and the last second be able to change it on them. How they're feeling themselves, you know, if they're feeling confident, if they're drooping around on certain touches, if something triggers their negative side.
And based on your observations, you know, in scouting a potential opponent, how does that impact your fencing and how you approach any bout?
Personally, I like to defend my game and not change so much based off what the other person is doing. But if I notice something just, you know, really commanding about the person, if they're cramping or something, that might just change the way I approach the bout.
So, you know, granted, this bout in particular, it looked like, you know, you were really in control. And you had a lot of confidence about pretty much every action. You were kind of able to hit target, winning where you wanted. How aware were you of kind of that?
This particular bout, I was really conscious of everything. I am one of those athletes who would say they have those blackout moments where you're just in the zone and you don't even know what's going on. But here I just knew exactly what I wanted to do for every action. It was kind of a low octane bout. It wasn't too much emotion going into it, so it was a lot of logical thinking and just knowing what I wanted to do.
And how does that compare to your fencing ordinarily, you know, in an NCAA meet or at a different NAC?
Well, I actually haven't had an NCAA meet yet, so I think I have my first one in December. But I would say more often than not, I'm an emotional fencer. I put a lot of passion on the strip, you know, yelling, all that. But I've been testing out switching between the two. Certain bouts are just better to have that energy, and others I just don't need it. So I like to conserve it.
You talk about the different approaches there, or strip presence. You know, clubmate, former St. John's alum, Ben Bratton, you know, really one of those fencers that exhibits a ton of emotion on the strip, known for it across the board. You mentioned that you're kind of experimenting right now. You're trying to feel out what exactly your style is. What are some early kind of experiences or things that you've noticed with that trial and error?
You know, I looked to Ben Bratton as a role model, and I guess I picked that off of him, that kind of spirit. I have learned that it's not for me, and it's not going to work for me for every single opponent. A lot of times I need to be able to sit back and look at the bout objectively, and with these emotions sometimes I can get a little clouded and not do the right thing.
Yeah, and you know, to that point, talking about really analyzing the bout while right in it, but still kind of approaching it from that 30,000 foot, you know, perspective.
Right.
You know, clubmate Donovan was sharing with me earlier how you really have a great awareness for the bout and what you're doing within it, and it's kind of hard to throw you off your game, both as an opponent and as a coach. You know, when you go into a bout, are you really focusing on certain actions or kind of setting up the long tactical game of it? Or what's your approach?
I would say out of those two options you gave me, the long tactical approach, because I basically use everything. So if I make a mistake, that mistake is going to come up again, and I'm going to use it and change it and then turn it to my advantage. So, you know, if I miss the foot touch and the person scores and that person's not comfortable with that, I'll definitely use that to fake it and try something else now. So I am always looking into the long run with my actions.
Now on the NCAA side, you mentioned your first opportunity to compete coming up here. What are you most excited for to compete for St. John's and at the NCAA level?
Just the energy, you know, I'm not that having that college team spirit. I hear it's just, you know, there's nothing like it. These NACs are very individual for the most part. You know, we have these team events, but competing for your schools is something very different.
And how about the 5-touch bout format? You know, of course, you get a lot of that with NACs and any other competition. What do you foresee as like challenges or opportunities for your style to fence that in NCAAs?
I think that's going to be challenging. You know, 5 touches, anything can happen. You know, in my personal opinion, the better fencer doesn't always win those 5-touch bouts. Two touches change the game and nothing. So,
especially for you, you mentioned looking at the long game and tactical side.
Right.
It's hard to make those assessments.
Right. So in that sense, I'll probably go with the first option and, you know, try to enact my presence more and fence with a lot more emotion in those 5 touches, because it's just a short bout. Now,
Isis Washington graduated last year, St. John's, walked out with the national title. You coming in, fellow Epee fencer, PWF. What are your expectations for your first year?
Well, I mean, I don't want to use the word expectations, but I'm coming to win. So, you know, first step is to qualify, and after that, we'll see what happens from there.
All right, 2016 men's Epee NCAA champion hopeful. Jake Hoyle, watch out. Thanks.